everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another installment in the series we call Breakdowns. This is the third installment into Breakdowns. And how do I pick them? Sometimes somebody says something in the comments. Sometimes I pick them at random. Today is more along the lines of random, but I do acknowledge that our gentleman friend here, Jake the Snake, is sort of a crowd favorite. And I think Jake the Snake is particularly good to feature in this way because Jake the Snake is a bespoke man. He is one of a kind, not impossible to recreate. You could build a Jake the Snake of your very own, but he doesn't, like, this is not off the shelf explicitly. So he's fitted up top with an Element Ecto body. This is in fact the Element Ecto body from the first Ecto RTR, the one that would later go on to become Lil Yella. This is that body, and then I refurbished it and repurposed it, painted it silver on the outside, and then painted it with Krylon Gloss Jungle Green. And the craziest part to me is that this is one color of one can of paint. And this is how he came out. That's real. There is a small and somewhat vocal minority that says, "Oh, I hate patinas." How could you hate patinas, Jake the Snake? Amazing. One of the first bumpers that I ever welded up my own self, and it serves a purpose. There are two holes punched through the body with pins in them. When you take this guy off, that part holds the body on, and you go like that, and that's how the body comes off. And you can see a lot of the yellow showing through on the inside. We've got a cutout to clear the dig servo. So, how is Jake the Snake not off the shelf, you ask? The chassis is at least inspired in terms of geometry and layout by the Artful Dodger's Ground Fox. But the only holes that it shares in common with the Artful Dodger's Ground Fox is basically the spacing that exists between skid and the level of the shocks. That's about it. Everything else was re-accommodated because my intention from the very beginning was to pair that chassis with a Capra skid. Low roll center, because I had these parts from, again, when the vehicle, now known as Zoidberg, was converted away from Capra gear because the Capra gearbox is one of the worst gearboxes in the world. The dig performance is dismal. So I had a Capra skid with the Capra gearbox, and I thought, we can throw it in this thing, we can make a little something out of it. At that time, now we're going way back, we're in the way back machine now, I was not aware that the internal reduction in a Capra gearbox is 1.2 to 1. So if you pair that with straight axles, you've basically made a touring car. So we immediately mated to the Spare Time Hobbies flat skid, a Vader 3-gear adapter, and then mounted to that the ubiquitous, what I call the tricolor, the Amazon dig box. So the angle of the skid was chosen effectively at random. I wanted to keep decent drive shaft angles. I wanted things not to interfere with one another. It has a little bit more skid angle than does the Ground Fox, and I knew from the go that this was going to be set up chassis mounted steering. He initially began on, if memory serves, just straight run-of-the-mill AR-44s. We later converted him over to SSD Diamond Pros, and he has been on the SSD Diamond Pro ever since. KYX big weights in the front. He runs an everything up front operation. Flash Hobby 60 kg direct power. Hobbywing 1080 G2. Running to a Surpass Rocket 540 plus V2 gold can. I want to say this one is the It's either the 16 or the 20. It's been a long time. It's been a hot minute. That motor has been in there for a good long time. And even at that, because we're talking about basically just the reduction of a 3-gear, 2.6 to 1, and then we're talking the basic AR44 style gears in the Diamond Pros. He's running a 14-tooth pinion, driving an 87-tooth spur. So we're trying to get a lot of gear. That's what leads me to think it might be the 16. I think with the 20, we could probably have a little bit more reasonable amount of, a little better pinion to spur. Although 1487 has never really hurt us. Links were effectively chosen at random. Whatever it took to get the wheelbase around. He's got a wheelbase of right about 310. Is it dynamic at all? He's got a wheelbase right around 310. And I don't know. I don't explicitly know what it is. It's one of those instances, at least I think, of the whole equaling more than the sum of the parts. He's got a very short wheelbase for vehicles here in the fleet. We love a 330. 310 is really quite short. And it's Trex's GTS shocks flipped upside down with some cups made to run the 10mm springs. These are, of course, as you can see, Class 2 J-Concepts Tusks. They are fitted with 3 Brothers anti-foams on the inside. I want to say 6mm tuning rods in the front, 8mm tuning rods in the rear. They are, it's blems all around. Someone sent them in many moons ago. And despite the performance, despite how good Jake is at things, and I think at least some part of that is due to the inserts themselves, I have never been motivated to buy another set because I find the tuning rods to be irritating to a near infinite degree. I don't cotton to a universal all-purpose insert where we stick little foam rods in them to try to make them better fit the vehicle. We got there, and I do remember this well, every single tuning rod in the bags that there were, and we just managed to get there for this guy. He is not super light. He is extremely forward biased. He's almost difficult to hold because he's so forward biased. We got pretty good geometry, and I had to guesswork the front geometry together. I don't like a curved panhard, but when we swapped axles, we needed a curved panhard because that goes into near full contact there. He is, as was mentioned, low roll center, which is, if you've never messed with something low roll center, what happens is you have like this elevated level of stability, and then you don't. So what happens is you're climbing over something, and there's a point where you can try this with a vehicle at home. Put a finger or two under a tire, and as you lift, you feel the way the weight is pressing down against your fingers. And then you continue to go, and you continue to go, and he gets to right about there, which is pretty steep up, right? We're past crossed up. And then all of a sudden, he becomes weightless. So that's what low roll center does. It allows you to get further into this tip right here. And then what will happen is one end or the other will betray the other, and away it goes. It just becomes weightless. So the way it works is, I talk about tip angle in the same language that you would talk about slip angle in a car that goes fast. You're absolutely fine until you're not. And the layout of one vehicle relative to another will determine what that slip angle is. Like, when it goes away, how much warning did it give you? Jake is on that. The curve is going up, and then there's a certain point where it just tips off. So he is relatively predictable in that way because his tip angle is so high. But if you blunder into a situation where you're at that angle quicker than you thought you would be, away he goes. And he spins like a drill bit when he goes. It's almost like he's, well, if you look at him down the middle, it's almost like everything is in the core. And everything is right there. As I said, Amazon Tricolor Dig Box, it is one of the few JX4409s still in service in the fleet. And that's basically why. I could replace that with a laundry list of servos and they would all be faster. We've just progressed further. Injora has one. And I'm just talking about half heights. I'm not even talking about converting to a mini micro servo because we had to, you know, there's that little fuel cell on an ecto body. I built this out of styrene, and then we had to cut a notch in it because that's where the back of the servo goes. So if I went through all that work, we're not just going to discard all that work and put a micro servo on there. Also, Jake is definitely a guy. Jake 1000% qualifies as the guy where, like, these are not, these look like TRX4. These are axial of some sort. They at least are steel. Hello, Moth. There are no 3 links the same. These are elements. This is an element factory team in 93. As I said, these look like Traxxas. These look like axial. Got a little titanium there. I want to say this is a Red Cat off of an Ascent. I don't know what this little skinny 3mm guy is. This is an element factory team, beat to death. I am loath. Would you get? Go away. I am loath to make any changes on our man, the Snake, because Jake the Snake is one of the most consistent performers. I also, things I remember well. In Crawlympics, he had a particularly mediocre run in the finals at Front 9, and prior to his effort at Front 9, Mavericks, he basically won. He ended up finishing second in the last, like the last 2 or 3 vehicles that ran. He won, in my estimation, Deadline. I want to say he was second at Green Line. He was so wildly consistent all the way across. And there's everything about that fills me with joy. It passes every conceivable condo test because he is chassis mounted steering, a brushed motor. He does not have anything fancy. He's got homebrew geometry that was basically made up on the spot. He's got teeths. He's got his little teeths up at the front. He just does the things. He has received not one single service day in his entirety of performance here at the Canyon. Ever since being added to the fleet, he has had little minor changes. He's changed wheels a couple times. Finally ended up on these Vanquish clones that are all over Amazon. They come in a couple different colors. If we can get an IFR, I mean, we'll take an IFR. They just look good. As I said, he wasn't originally on Diamond Pros. He's on Diamond Pros now. It is my favorite brushed motor that there is by a lot. Basically, with the exception of the twins in the Canyon fleet, if it is running a brushed motor, it is running this motor, whether it be in a gunmetal can, a gold can, or a blue can. The NHX Momentum blue cans are basically the only ones that are easy to get a hold of now. I believe the gold can versions are effectively discontinued. You can still kind of find them. So he went together in bits and pieces And what we ended up with is grandly successful. He is one of my absolute favorites. I try not to play favorites, but there is that element to him that he's got that Highlander principle to him where there is just the one. There is only one. And with nothing fancy still. Oh, he's so terribly loud. This was coming up in a question on the Discord somewhat recently to this recording about what vehicles in the fleet are fitted with Amazon dig boxes. And I want to say, as of today, I want to say there's 7 vehicles fitted with Amazon dig boxes. And then I started thinking about vehicles that are fitted with dig boxes and Diamond Pro axles. And I was like, oh, that really does seem to happen a lot. We've got, that's a fairly common combo. Basically, whatever you pick to hold all your stuff together, whatever shocks you prefer, the tire you pick for your environment, whatever motor or power source you go with, if you begin with an Amazon tricolor dig box and some SSD Diamond Pros, you're going to build something pretty good. Another recent build in the Canyon Dusty, a Crawler Canyon Class 1.5, is basically son of Jake. Tricolor dig box in the middle. SSD Diamond Pros at the ends. Completely different chassis, different body, different everything. But there is that some... a 1080 with that brush motor, so they are definitely more similar than different. And I make an effort, a determined effort, that even if I'm building 2 of the quote unquote same thing, if I'm building Ecto or Zool bodied Class 2 or some other form of a full bodied Class 2 or a Crawler Canyon 1.5, I make an effort not to build the same thing twice. We want some sort of a, what is the spin? If I was going to make Jake 2.0, what would I do that is different from this one? Well, I would try to do as much different as possible. Even if I retained 1080 G2 and a brushed system, which I probably wouldn't. Jake 2.0 would probably be Outrunner fitted. And I would really try to tinker with that short wheelbase, that high level of maneuverability, the fantastic dig performance. I want to say, whatever this is from, whatever is the stock steel horns, they are great dig servo horns because they have no deflection whatsoever. So Jake did not get particularly iterative. He was lucky. I got lucky, we got lucky. Everybody collectively got lucky because I took the bits, I slapped them on a chassis of mostly my own. What I borrowed from Artful Dodgers, as I said, is effectively the distance between this row of holes and the distance between these row of holes. And and he is one of my earlier chassis experiments. Had I to do it over, his shock towers would probably be higher, would probably be taller, because we've got 90s and they're all the way in the top hole. So the bottom, at least the bottommost row is not usable. I would like the tower up higher so that bottom row of holes could be usable for, say, a Deluxe 92 or a Chavtech 95 or something like that. And that is only the kind of thing that we would experiment with in Jake 2.0 if I was considering doing so. Because Jake doesn't get messed with. Jake doesn't get messed with because Jake 100% does the things. He does all the things that are asked of him. He does it well. He's good at driving fast. His dig performance is excellent. He looks good. He drives good. There's a minority of vehicles in the canyon which are vehicles that have achieved their true final forms. And Jake is in his true final form. He's about 6.5 pounds of raw fury. He's got a good body. He's got good... There's a lot of S tier items on here. Jake might be as close as I've gotten to all S tier nonsense, if tier lists are your thing. And, you know, if nothing else, Jake is an example of what should encourage experimentation. Don't watch a review of something, even if it's mine, and if it looks like it did passably well but not outstanding, that's not a guarantee. Now, if you watch me do a tire review and the thing scored a 78, yeah, it's garbage. It's garbage. But you can sometimes throw pieces together. Jake is like the embodiment of a bin build. If you throw all those parts together, sometimes celestial alchemy takes place, and you can get something that is Jake. There's nothing expensive in here, and it's one of the things that I love about him. He was built to run on a 2200. He runs on a 2200 all day. Is he on it? Jake the Snake has been around so long, he's on a V2. He doesn't even have cruise control. He can go plenty slow. He can do the thing. It's Jake. It's Jake the Snake. One of the Canyon OGs. He's in that first. Let me call him the first 8. He's in that first 8, and he's great. He's great. We'll decide who we're going to do next week. Maybe from a little bit of the comments. Maybe from a little bit of I'll just go, you know what, I think I'll do this one. And maybe it'll be somebody who's going to undergone a lot of changes. Maybe it'll be somebody that hasn't. I don't know. Figure it out when we get there. I hope you tune on back in to see what we come up with next time. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here in the Canyon. Any questions, comments, concerns, fight on them in the comments section below. Tune on in to see us again, and in between now and then, please one and all do your very best here to have a good one, everybody. Crawler Canyon has a Discord. You can check it out if you like. Link in channel description. We will see you. Jake and I will see you. Well, I will see you. Maybe Jake, maybe not. One or both of us will see you in the next one.